What you're getting today is 18 fully documented, fully verifiable best-dressed moments. Nothing more, nothing less. Number 18. Richard Sherman. Okay, so we're kicking things off with a lesson in simplicity. Former Seattle Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman was photographed heading to the wedding in Nomad on July 3rd, and he chose a classic black tuxedo for the occasion. And guys, sometimes simplicity truly is the ultimate flex. Now I know what you're thinking. A black tux isn't exactly groundbreaking, but hear me out. There is something to be said for a man who understands that a black tie dress code means black tie. No gimmicks, no unnecessary embellishments, just an impeccably tailored tuxedo that fits like a glove. Sherman has always carried himself with this quiet confidence both on and off the field, and that same energy translated perfectly here. The fit across the shoulders was sharp, the proportions were clean, and it photographed beautifully among the sea of paparazzi cameras stationed outside that Nomad neighborhood, all trying to catch a glimpse of exactly who was heading toward Madison Square Garden that evening. Sometimes, the best-dressed list needs a little bit of restraint to balance out all the drama. And Sherman delivered exactly that. It's also worth pointing out just how much documentation exists of guests simply heading to this wedding, thanks to how many photographers staked out that entire neighborhood in the hours before the ceremony. Sherman's tuxedo moment is a great reminder that you don't need a flashy custom gown to earn a spot on a best-dressed list. Sometimes flawless execution of the fundamentals is more than enough. And that's exactly the energy he brought to this list today. Sherman has attended plenty of high-profile events across his post-football career, from award shows to charity galas, and he's always leaned into that same clean, no-nonsense formal wear approach rather than chasing trends. At an event stacked with couture gowns, custom embroidery, and archival vintage pieces, having a guest or two who simply nail the fundamentals of a great black tuxedo actually elevates the entire red carpet, because it gives your eye a place to rest between all of the maximalist moments. It's an underrated skill, honestly, and Sherman has clearly mastered it. Given how many arrival photos exist from this single evening, it's genuinely interesting to compare the different approaches guests took to interpreting one shared dress code. Sherman represents the purest, most literal reading of black tie, and there's real value in including a look like that on a list like this, if only to highlight just how much creative range the other 17 entries managed to squeeze out of the exact same set of formal wear rules. Sherman's connection to this wedding also makes sense given how much the guest list leaned into the NFL side of Kelce's world. Not just his current Chiefs teammates, but respected veterans and analysts from across the league. Seeing someone with Sherman's level of football pedigree show up dressed this sharply reinforces just how seriously athletes across the sport treated this particular invitation, understanding exactly the kind of formal, high-profile occasion they were walking into that evening. Number 17. Abby Wambach. Up next, we have soccer icon Abby Wambach, who was photographed arriving at Madison Square Garden alongside her wife, author Glennon Doyle. And guys, Wambach chose a classic tuxedo for the occasion, and she looked absolutely incredible in it. I love when someone takes traditionally masculine formal wear and just owns it completely. The sharp structure, featuring a classic black jacket, pristine white shirt, and tailored trousers, gave the whole look such a sharp, powerful silhouette, and it fit her frame beautifully. There's a real confidence that comes through when someone chooses exactly the silhouette that makes them feel most like themselves, rather than defaulting to whatever's expected. And Wambach has never been shy about that kind of authenticity throughout her entire career, both as an athlete and as a public figure. The tailoring here looked razor-sharp, clean lines, no unnecessary fuss, and it photographed as one of the most quietly confident looks of the whole night. Wambach and Doyle have always used their public platform to challenge conventional expectations, whether that's around gender, sexuality, or just what a wedding guest look is supposed to mean, and this outfit choice fit perfectly into that broader story. Rather than defaulting to a gown just because that's traditionally what's expected of women at formal events, Wambach chose the silhouette that actually made her feel most confident. And honestly, Confidence is the single biggest factor in whether any outfit actually lands. This is exactly the kind of best-dressed moment that doesn't need sequins or a dramatic train to make an impact, and that's precisely why it earns a spot on this list today. Beyond just the outfit itself, there's something genuinely lovely about the fact that this photo exists at all. A candid, unposed arrival shot, rather than a heavily staged red carpet moment. It captures exactly the kind of authentic, joyful energy this wedding seemed to bring out in so many of its guests. Two people who clearly weren't there to perform for cameras, just to celebrate their friend's big day while looking incredible doing it. It's also worth mentioning that Wambach and Doyle have been vocal advocates and public figures well beyond sports and memoir writing, and every public appearance they make tends to carry a little bit of that same quiet advocacy with it, whether that's the message intended or not. Seeing them arrive together, dressed exactly the way they wanted to be dressed, adds a nice layer of representation to a guest list already stacked with plenty of more conventional gowns. Number 16. Ed Sheeran. Now, we cannot talk about this wedding without talking about Ed Sheeran, because guys, he and his wife, Cherry Seaborn, were photographed attending together, and Sheeran went full color, showing up in a bold turquoise tailored suit paired with a matching tee, while Cherry brought her own pop of color in a marigold yellow dress. I am obsessed with this choice for so many reasons. First of all, turquoise is not a color you typically see on menswear at a formal event. Most guys default to navy, black, or maybe a deep burgundy if they're feeling bold. Sheeran went full turquoise hue, a tee and all, and it worked, because he committed to it completely, no hesitation. Pairing that with Cherry's marigold dress created this really beautiful, coordinated pop of color between the two of them, without looking matchy-matchy in a forced way. Given how deeply Sheeran is woven into Taylor's entire musical career and personal life, dating all the way back to years of collaborations and duets, it makes sense he'd show up dressed like he was ready to be part of the celebration, not just an observer of it. Choosing a tee over traditional formal shirts was such a small, playful detail, and it's exactly the kind of quirky, personal touch that made this one of the most talked-about menswear looks of the entire night. It's also worth remembering just how much Taylor's own catalog has been shaped by her collaborations with Sheeran, from early duets to features spanning multiple albums across her entire career. So his presence at this wedding was never really in question. Seeing him lean into color rather than the expected safe navy suit felt like exactly the kind of playful confidence you'd expect from someone who's spent years sharing a stage with her. And that clean styling showed he wasn't afraid to bend the black tie rules just enough to make the look feel like his own. Cherry Seaborn doesn't often get much individual attention on best-dressed lists, given how private the couple tends to keep their personal life. So it was genuinely nice to see her marigold dress get its own moment in the coverage this time around. Together, their coordinated color palette gave photographers one of the more visually cheerful couple shots of the entire event, standing out against a backdrop of so much black and jewel-toned formal wear. Number 15. Dakota Johnson. Up next, we have Dakota Johnson, who was photographed arriving at the venue in a sleek, sheer black halter dress. And guys, this is exactly the kind of understated confidence I've come to expect from her. Johnson has always gravitated toward clean, unfussy silhouettes, rather than anything overly maximalist, and this look fit perfectly into that long-standing preference. The sheer layering detail gave the outfit just enough visual interest and movement without needing any additional embellishment, keeping the whole silhouette streamlined and elegant. There's something so satisfying about watching a guest understand exactly who they are and dress accordingly, rather than trying to compete with the more elaborate, embellished gowns surrounding her that night. Sometimes the most memorable looks on a red carpet aren't the loudest ones in the room. They're the ones that fit the wearer so perfectly that you can't imagine them in anything else. And that's exactly the energy Johnson brought here. She's built an entire personal style reputation on this kind of quiet, confident minimalism, whether she's promoting a film or just attending a friend's celebration, and this wedding was no exception to that rule. Johnson has been photographed at plenty of high-profile events over the years, and there's a real consistency to her approach, favoring restraint over spectacle, almost every single time. In a guest list absolutely packed with maximalist gowns, dramatic trains, and heavy embellishment, having a few looks like hers scattered throughout actually makes the whole red carpet story feel more balanced, giving photographers and fans alike a nice visual breather between all of the bigger, louder moments happening elsewhere that night. It's also worth pointing out that Johnson has become something of a go-to reference for effortless off-duty glamour in recent years, the kind of look people screenshot and bring to their own stylists when they want to look put together without looking overworked. This wedding guest appearance did nothing to change that reputation. If anything, it reinforced it further. Johnson's arrival was also one of the earliest confirmed photos to circulate once guests started heading toward the venue, which meant her look ended up anchoring a lot of the initial "who's attending" coverage before the bigger, more anticipated names started arriving later in the evening. That early timing gave her outfit an outsized amount of attention relative to how understated it actually was, proving once again that a well-executed simple look can hold its own against far flashier competition. Number 14. Abigail Anderson Berard. Okay, this next entry carries so much sentimental weight. Abigail Anderson Berard, Taylor's childhood best friend, the very same redhead named Abigail, immortalized in the song 15, was photographed in a brown and floral gown by designer Sal Lee, featuring a structured, strapless corset bodice and a silky draped skirt. I love this dress for so many reasons. That embroidered corset bodice was giving major romantic vibes, echoing the lingerie as outerwear trend that first got popularized in the 90s through designers like Jean Paul Gaultier and Vivienne Westwood. And the delicate floral details stitched throughout the gown added this lovely, almost old-world romance to an otherwise very modern silhouette. The beautiful brown and floral color palette elevated the whole look, giving it a throwback feel while still keeping things fashion-forward. Given that Anderson has been by Taylor's side since childhood, long before any of the fame, the music, or the multiple reinventions, having her show up in one of the most talked-about vintage-inspired gowns of the entire night felt like such a fitting tribute to a friendship that predates literally everything else on this list. It's proof that the most meaningful looks aren't always the most famous designer's biggest gown. Sometimes they're worn by the person who's been there the longest. There's also something really lovely about the fact that this look photographed as effortlessly candid rather than heavily staged, capturing Anderson mid-arrival rather than in a carefully composed portrait. Fans have followed her friendship with Taylor for years now, ever since that lyric in 15 made her a known figure among longtime listeners, and seeing her show up in a gown this considered, this detailed at one of the most significant days of her best friend's life, gave the whole moment an extra layer of emotional weight that few other looks on this list could match. Sal Lee has increasingly become a favorite among guests looking for something with a bit more narrative depth than a straightforward gown, and Anderson's choice reflects that same growing appetite for pieces that tell a story rather than simply photograph well. Given her decades of history with Taylor, it makes sense that the person who's been there since childhood would gravitate toward a dress with this much sentiment baked into its actual design. Number 13. Gracie Abrams. Up next, we have Gracie Abrams, who was photographed sparkling in a red dress as she attended the wedding. And guys, as a Chanel ambassador, this pic makes complete sense, but that does not make it any less stunning. I am absolutely obsessed with this cherry red color, guys. It's such a bold, confident choice for a black tie wedding, especially considering how many other guests lean toward black, champagne, or softer pastels. That crystal embellishment caught the light so beautifully throughout the entire dress, giving it this dazzling, almost fiery quality every time she moved. Chanel's design sensibility has brought such an exciting, modern energy to bridal-adjacent red carpet fashion recently, and this gown captured that perfectly. Given her deep friendship with Taylor, Having opened for her on tour and grown genuinely close over the past few years, it felt fitting that Abrams would show up in one of the most vibrant, attention-grabbing looks of the entire night. This wasn't a guest borrowing something off a stylist's rack the week before. It was someone who clearly wanted her look to feel like a genuine celebration rather than just another red carpet obligation. And that intentionality absolutely came through in every single photo. Abrams has been steadily building her own profile as both a musician and a fashion favorite over the past couple of years, and being photographed in such a vivid, unmissable red at a wedding, this significant only adds to that momentum. It's the kind of look that generates its own headlines independent of the wedding itself. And given how many outlets specifically singled out her red dress in their coverage of the best-dressed guests, it clearly succeeded at doing exactly that. There's also a nice symmetry in seeing one of Taylor's musical protégés, someone whose career has been directly shaped by that mentorship and touring relationship, show up in a look bold enough to command its own headlines. It speaks to how much Abrams has grown into her own distinct public persona, rather than remaining purely in Taylor's shadow, and that confidence translated directly into how she dressed for this occasion. This appearance also came not long after Abrams' own high-profile Grammys red carpet moment earlier in the year, which means fashion editors already had a recent reference point for comparing her evolving style, and this cherry red wedding look held up beautifully against that earlier standard. Number 12. Jessica Alba. Okay, this next look was giving pure disco glamour. Jessica Alba, who starred in Taylor's Bad Blood music video back in 2015, shared a transition reel before arriving at the venue in a plunging black sweetheart neck paired with a spectacular gold sequin skirt covered in oversized palettes. Guys, I am obsessed with this combination. That plunging black sweetheart neck kept the top half of the look sleek and controlled, while the gold sequin skirt brought all of the drama and shimmer down below, creating this incredible visual contrast between restraint and full-on glamour. Those oversized palettes must have caught the light so beautifully every time she moved, giving the whole outfit this dazzling, almost dance floor-ready quality. Alba has been part of Taylor's orbit for over a decade at this point, and showing up in something this fun and celebratory felt like exactly the right note to strike for a friend's wedding, rather than defaulting to a more serious, somber black tie gown. The transition reel she shared ahead of arriving gave fans such a fun, candid glimpse into the look before the official arrival photos even came out. And that kind of behind-the-scenes preview is exactly what makes a guest look stick in people's minds days after the event. There's also something really satisfying about seeing a guest lean fully into a specific mood rather than playing it safe with a generic black gown. Disco glamour is such a distinct, specific aesthetic, and Alba committed to it completely, from the plunging neckline down to those oversized sequin palettes. It's a reminder that a truly memorable red carpet look often comes from picking one clear concept and executing it flawlessly, rather than trying to check every single glamour box at once. Alba's connection to Taylor through Bad Blood back in 2015 gives this appearance a nice bit of nostalgic full-circle energy too, considering how much both of their careers and public personas have evolved in the decade since that music video first came out. Showing up to celebrate this milestone in such an unmistakably fun, glamorous look felt like the right way to mark just how much time has passed. Number 11. Lena Dunham. Okay, next up we have Lena Dunham. And guys, she brought one of the boldest fashion-forward moments of the entire night. She opted for a vibrant magenta satin blouse with billowing sleeves, paired with a sleek black floor-length skirt and a giant periwinkle flower pin. I love this pairing so much because it's giving us something totally different from the traditional gown route so many other guests chose. That magenta blouse alone was such a striking pop of color, and those lovely billowing sleeves added so much visual movement and drama to the top half of the look. Pairing it with a sleek, simple black skirt kept the whole outfit balanced rather than overwhelming, letting that magenta moment really shine without competing with itself. Dunham also revealed, via a cheeky Instagram caption, that she carpooled to the wedding with author Zadie Smith and actor Andrew Scott, joking that she's available going forward for weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and sweet 16s. That kind of candid, funny caption is so on brand for her, and it made the whole look feel even more memorable. Proof that a great outfit paired with genuine personality is always going to outshine a more serious, tightly controlled red carpet moment. Dunham has always treated red carpet dressing almost like a creative collage, mixing colors, textures, and proportions in ways that a lot of stylists would consider risky. And this look was a perfect example of that fearless approach paying off. Separates are always a slightly bolder choice than a single cohesive gown at a black tie event because there's more room for the proportions to feel off. But this pairing worked beautifully, precisely because every single piece, from the blouse to the skirt to that corsage, felt deliberately chosen rather than thrown together. That carpool detail also says a lot about how tightly interwoven this particular friend group actually is. Zadie Smith, Andrew Scott, and Dunham all arriving together speaks to the kind of cross-industry, genuinely personal friendships Taylor has cultivated over the years, spanning literature, film, and television, just as much as music. And it's exactly the sort of guest list detail that makes this wedding feel less like an industry event and more like an actual, intimate celebration among real friends, right down to the small, unglamorous logistics of who rode with whom. Number 10. Dita Von Teese. Next up, we have the queen of vintage glamour herself, Dita Von Teese, and honestly, could we have expected anything less than absolute perfection from her? She showed up in a peach and champagne gown featuring intricate lace detailing across the bodice and sleeves, flowing into a full-length skirt, finished with a sparkling silver clutch, and a glamorous, vintage-inspired hairstyle. I mean, guys, this is exactly what I expect every single time from Dita Von Teese. And she never, ever disappoints. That champagne and ivory color combination gave the whole look such a soft, old Hollywood romance, and the lace detailing across the bodice and sleeves added just enough intricacy without overwhelming the overall silhouette. The full-length skirt gave it that classic, timeless red carpet drama, while the vintage hairstyle tied the entire look together in such a cohesive, intentional way. Von Teese has spent decades cultivating an entire public persona built around this exact kind of old Hollywood burlesque-adjacent glamour. And at an event stacked with modern contemporary runway pieces, her look stood out precisely because it felt like it belonged to a completely different, timeless era of red carpet dressing. It's a great reminder that in a room full of the latest designer collections, sometimes the most memorable look is the one that refuses to chase the current moment at all. What I also love about this pick is how consistent it feels with everything she's ever worn on a red carpet. There's no jarring departure here, no attempt to chase whatever's currently trending, just Von Teese doing exactly what she's always done best, and doing it at an incredibly high level. When a guest's look this thoroughly reflects their entire public persona, it tends to stick in people's minds far longer than a trendier, more forgettable choice, and that's precisely why this one earns its spot on the list today. Given how many guests at this wedding leaned into some version of vintage or old Hollywood glamour, from Jessica Chastain's flapper bob to Selena Gomez's Marilyn Monroe-inspired gold gown, it's fascinating to see just how many completely distinct interpretations of that same general mood ended up on display across a single guest list. Von Teese's version leaned burlesque and theatrical, while others leaned more understated and classic. And that range is exactly what made this such a rich, varied red carpet to break down. It's also worth noting that Von Teese wasn't officially part of Taylor's core industry circle, in the same way many of the other names on this list are, which makes her invitation and her subsequent effort with this look feel even more special. Guests who exist slightly outside the immediate music and film world often bring a completely different sensibility to an event like this, and Von Teese's specific brand of vintage glamour added a flavor to the red carpet that none of the other more expected names could have replicated. Next up, we have Fergie. And if you know anything about her personal style, you already know she was not coming to this wedding in anything remotely subtle. She served major disco vibes in a gold sequined vintage dress by John Galliano, elevated with a gorgeous feathered boa, oversized sunglasses, and sparkling statement earrings. Guys, this is Fergie staying completely true to her signature aesthetic, and I love her for it. That shimmering, sequined fabric alone would have been a showstopper on its own, but adding those dramatic feathered details took the entire look to another level of old-school glamour. There's something so unapologetically bold about choosing a full sequin, vintage gown for a black tie wedding, rather than something more understated. And honestly, given her entire career built on maximalist, larger-than-life performances, this felt like exactly the right choice for her. Fergie has always understood the assignment when it comes to full glamour. Going all the way back to her Black Eyed Peas days and into her solo career, and she has never once shied away from a bold, statement-making red carpet moment. Choosing an archival vintage piece, rather than something brand new off a current runway, gave her look a sense of weight and history that a lot of other guests simply couldn't match. And those feathered details were the perfect exclamation point on the whole thing. It's worth remembering that Fergie has spent years cultivating a reputation for embracing exactly this kind of maximalist, unapologetic glamour, whether on stage or on a red carpet. And this wedding gave her the perfect canvas to lean fully into that signature aesthetic one more time. Among a guest list with so many quieter, more restrained gowns, having a look this loud and celebratory added some much-needed energy to the overall red carpet story. Okay guys, quick pause because we are officially halfway through this list and there is still so much more coming, including some seriously iconic gowns from names you are absolutely going to recognize. If you're loving this breakdown so far, seriously, smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who are just as obsessed with celebrity fashion as we are. And while you're at it, drop a comment telling me which look has been your favorite so far, because I want to see if we agree. Alright, let's keep this going. Number 8. Kelce Ballerini. Up next, country star Kelce Ballerini absolutely wowed in an olive green satin dress with a high slit, and guys, she even referenced Taylor's own music in her Instagram caption, combining two titles into Long Live a Love Story. I am obsessed with this color choice, guys. Green is not a shade we see very often on formal red carpets. Most guests default to jewel tones like emerald done in a more traditional way, or classic neutrals like black and champagne. So seeing Ballerini step out in this vibrant, unexpected shade immediately made her stand out from the crowd. Ballerini has always had this wonderful way of paying homage to Taylor's music through small, clever details, whether it's in her captions or her overall styling choices for events tied to the singer. Given that Ballerini has spoken of Taylor as an early mentor, her presence at the wedding carried its own layer of musical history, and choosing a caption that so directly referenced Taylor's catalog showed just how much thought went into making this moment feel personal, rather than just another red carpet appearance. Ballerini has had such a big year, both personally and professionally, and there was something really lovely about seeing her show up to celebrate a friend's wedding in a color and silhouette that felt like a genuine reflection of newfound confidence, rather than just another red carpet costume. Green is a notoriously tricky color to pull off under evening lighting, but the way this dress photographed suggests the shade was chosen with real care, and it paid off beautifully across every single image released from the night. It's also worth noting that country music had a genuinely strong showing at this wedding, with Ballerini joined by names like Miranda Lambert and Maren Morris, all bringing their own distinct take on formal black tie glamour. Seeing an entire genre represented so thoroughly at one single event speaks to just how far Taylor's own musical roots and lasting friendships extend, well beyond the pop world most casual fans associate her with today. Number 7. Next up, we have Jessica Chastain, who embraced full vintage glamour ahead of the wedding, debuting a flapper-inspired bob and sharing an Instagram post with the caption, "I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 1922, a playful nod to Taylor's own song 22. Guys, this might be one of the most sophisticated, classically beautiful beauty and styling moments on this entire list. That vintage-inspired haircut alone generated so much conversation online in the days leading up to the wedding, with fans immediately speculating that it was a not-so-subtle hint that she'd made the guest list. The soft finger waves and cropped length gave the whole look such a rich, old Hollywood texture, channeling exactly the kind of roaring 20s glamour that so many guests seem to gravitate toward for this particular event. Chastain has always had this incredible ability to reference classic eras without ever feeling costumey. And pairing that vintage bob with a chic velvet black gown for the actual event completed one of the most cohesive, intentional transformations of the entire night. Everything from the hair to the caption to the gown itself felt like it was working together toward one singular, elegant vision, and Chastain executed it flawlessly. It's also worth noting just how much online speculation her pre-wedding haircut post generated, with fans in the comments practically begging to be her +1 the moment they saw that flapper-inspired bob. That kind of anticipatory buzz, built entirely off a single beauty post days before the actual event, shows just how invested people had become in tracking every single detail of this wedding, right down to individual guests' haircuts. That lyrical callback in her caption also deserves its own mention. Referencing 22 while turning it into 1922 is exactly the kind of clever, playful wordplay that Swifties live for. And it shows how well Chastain understands the specific culture surrounding Taylor's fanbase. A great outfit paired with a genuinely funny, well-researched caption is always going to generate more engagement than the dress alone ever could. Chastain's willingness to poke fun at herself, teasing fans with a hint days before actually confirming she was a guest, also added a really fun, drawn-out layer of suspense to the whole lead-up to the wedding. It turned what could have just been a single outfit reveal into almost a mini guessing game for her followers. And that kind of playful audience engagement is exactly the sort of thing that keeps a look relevant in conversation long after the actual event has ended. Number 6. Camila Cabello. Okay, we are getting into some seriously daring territory now. Camila Cabello, who actually opened for Taylor's Reputation Stadium tour back in 2018, was photographed in a striking crimson lace Zimmermann gown with a plunging neckline and cutout detailing, giving fans a glimpse of her look from the black car ahead of the ceremony. Guys, this look sparked so much conversation online, and honestly, that's exactly what a great red carpet moment is supposed to do. That crimson color was so vibrant, so unmissable in a sea of black tie neutrals, and the cutout lace detailing gave the whole gown this daring, unapologetic edge. The saturated color and modern cut kept the look from feeling like a pure vintage throwback, elevating the retro silhouette into something that felt current and fresh. Cabello herself shared a TikTok from the car ride over, captioned with a lyric translating to "Daughter of the Moon," giving fans this fun, cinematic glimpse into her wedding guest era before she even arrived. Given her decade-long friendship with Taylor, dating back to when the two first met at an awards show, it felt fitting that Cabello would show up in one of the most vibrant, attention-grabbing looks of the entire night. Having actually opened for Taylor on tour years before their friendship solidified off-stage, Cabello's presence at this wedding carries its own little bit of full-circle history. And that crimson lace gown felt like exactly the kind of look someone wears when they know they're celebrating a genuine friend rather than just attending an industry event. It generated so much conversation online precisely because it refused to blend into the background. And honestly, isn't that exactly the point of dressing for a moment this big? The cutout detailing on this gown also deserves a specific shout-out because it added just enough edge to what could have otherwise read as a purely soft, romantic look. Small design choices like strategic cutouts are often what separate a good red carpet gown from a genuinely memorable one. And this dress balanced romance and daring in exactly the right proportions. Cabello has always had a real sense of theatricality in how she approaches red carpet dressing, whether that's through color, silhouette, or the kind of behind-the-scenes content she shares leading up to an event. And that TikTok teaser before this wedding was a perfect example of that instinct in action, building genuine anticipation for a look that more than delivered once the full photos came out. Number 5. Karlie Kloss. Okay, this next entry was one of the biggest surprises of the entire guest list, at least in terms of who showed up, given years of rumored tension between her and the bride. But let's be real. The dress itself was an absolute knockout. Karlie Kloss was photographed leaving her Nolita home alongside her husband, Joshua Kushner, in a strapless liquid gold satin gown from Tove's Fall 2024 ready-to-wear collection. And later photographed again, leaving Madison Square Garden in the early hours after the ceremony, confirming she genuinely attended. Guys, that liquid gold color was giving pure, unfiltered glamour, and I was completely obsessed. The strapless silhouette featured elegant draping across the bodice, kept sleek and streamlined, letting that shimmering gold fabric do all of the heavy lifting rather than relying on excessive embellishment. She finished the whole thing off with metallic heels, a matching clutch, and classic Hollywood waves, while Joshua complimented her in a navy tuxedo with black satin lapels. Given the long-running rumors of a falling out between Kloss and Taylor dating back to around 2017, her appearance became one of the single most talked-about moments of the entire guest list, with fans even initially questioning whether the photos were staged before additional images confirmed she'd actually gone inside the venue. Whatever happened behind the scenes, this wedding invitation and that stunning gold gown gave fans their answer. Kloss was there, and she looked incredible doing it. The two women had once been considered nearly inseparable, dating all the way back to meeting at the 2013 Victoria's Secret fashion show, appearing on joint magazine covers, road trips, and years of red carpets together before their friendship cooled around 2018. Seeing Kloss show up in one of the most photographed gowns of the entire wedding wasn't just a fashion moment, it was a genuine reconciliation story playing out in real time, and that emotional weight is a huge part of why this look climbed so high on my list today. There's also something worth noting about the photographic evidence itself here, given that fans initially tried to argue the arrival photos were staged. The fact that a second, separate photo later surfaced showing Kloss leaving the venue in the early morning hours is exactly the kind of documentation that makes this pic so easy to confirm and include. No speculation required, just two verified photos bookending the entire night. Number 4. Jennifer Lopez. Alright guys, let's talk about Jennifer Lopez, because she never ever disappoints, and this wedding was no exception. J.Lo posted a photo of herself in a dramatic black velvet gown, captioning the Instagram post with nothing but a single champagne toast emoji, letting the dress speak entirely for itself. I mean guys, does Jennifer Lopez know how to do anything other than exude complete elegance? That black velvet ensemble gave the whole look such a rich, luxurious texture, perfect for an evening black tie event like this one. The choice to caption the post with just an emoji, rather than any kind of lengthy tribute, felt so confidently understated for someone with her level of fame, essentially letting the outfit and the moment itself do all of the talking. Given her decades-long history in the entertainment industry, J.Lo has been a fixture on major red carpets for well over 2 decades at this point. And what continues to impress me is how she manages to make every single appearance feel fresh rather than repetitive. This particular gown balanced restraint and drama in exactly the right proportions, and it's the kind of look that belongs on every single best-dressed list from this wedding, no exceptions. There's a real skill in trusting a single, well-chosen photo and a one-emoji caption to carry an entire moment, especially at an event where so many other guests were sharing lengthy, gushing tributes to the newlyweds. Lopez let the dress and the moment do the talking. And given how many outlets picked up that exact image in their coverage of the wedding, that quiet confidence clearly paid off. Lopez has weathered so many different eras of red carpet fashion over the course of her career, from the early 2000s all the way through to now, and she's rarely, if ever, been accused of a genuine misstep. That kind of sustained excellence deserves real recognition, and this black velvet gown, understated by her own historical standards, still managed to hold its own against every single other look on this entire list. It's also worth pointing out just how strategic this particular caption choice was in the context of everyone else's social media reactions that weekend. While plenty of guests leaned into elaborate, gushing captions referencing Taylor's lyrics or their years of friendship, Lopez went the complete opposite direction, and that restraint actually made her post stand out even more in a feed absolutely flooded with congratulatory messages. Sometimes doing less really is doing more, and this was a perfect example of exactly that principle in action. Number 3. Selena Gomez. Okay, we are getting into the final stretch now, and this next pick carries so much sentimental meaning behind it. Selena Gomez, Taylor's longtime best friend, showed up dazzling in a champagne-beaded gown that caught the light from every single angle, paired with a sleek, voluminous, vintage-inspired bob. Guys, here's the detail that makes this pick so special. That exact gold and champagne color is the same shade Taylor herself wore to Gomez's own birthday bash back in a previous year. I am not okay. This small, thoughtful callback between two best friends absolutely destroyed me. Beyond the sentimental value, the dress itself evoked major old Hollywood glamour, with fans and stylists alike drawing comparisons to the sparkling gown Marilyn Monroe wore to serenade President John F. Kennedy back in 1962. Her hairstylist even described the styling as a modern homage to the silver screen sirens of the 1940s, full of glamour, precision, and quiet confidence. And honestly, that description could apply to the entire look from head to toe. This is exactly the kind of full-circle, meaningful styling choice that turns a great look into an unforgettable one, and it's a huge part of why Gomez lands so close to the top of this list today. Gomez and Taylor have one of the most publicly documented decades-long friendships in the entire industry, going all the way back to their teenage years. And small callbacks like this color choice are exactly the kind of detail that longtime fans of both women immediately clock and appreciate. It elevates the entire look from simply being a beautiful gown into something with genuine emotional weight behind it. And that's precisely why this one very nearly took the top spot on my list. Beyond the color callback, there's also something touching about watching this friendship come full circle in real time. Gomez and Taylor have consistently stood by each other's side. And now, at this momentous event, Gomez is the one showing up dressed head to toe in a beautiful tribute to their shared bond over the years. It's the kind of moment that reminds you these celebrity friendships, for all the public scrutiny surrounding them, can carry the exact same warmth and reciprocity as any friendship between two ordinary people. That Marilyn Monroe comparison drawn by so many fashion outlets also adds an extra layer of historical weight to this particular gown. Referencing one of the most iconic gold dresses in 20th century pop culture history, worn during one of the most famous moments in American celebrity history, gave Gomez's look a kind of built-in gravitas that very few other gowns at this wedding could claim. And it's exactly why this pick came so close to taking the #1 spot on today's countdown. Number 2. Gigi Hadid. Alright, we are so close to the top spot now, and this next entry might be one of my personal favorites from the entire night. Gigi Hadid, one of Taylor's longest and closest friends, brought a splash of color in a shimmering pink gown, complete with delicate spaghetti straps and a sparkling gemstone necklace, her glamorous waves and glowing makeup making for one of the standout beauty moments of the whole night. Guys, I am completely obsessed with this pink. It's such a playful, joyful color for a wedding, and that gemstone detailing gave the gown so much shimmer and dimension. It must have looked absolutely incredible under the venue lighting. The delicate spaghetti straps kept the silhouette feeling light and romantic rather than overly heavy or structured, and that sparkling necklace added the perfect finishing touch of glamour right at the neckline. Given Hadid's decades-long friendship with Taylor, dating all the way back to their earliest days in the industry together, it felt completely fitting that she'd show up in one of the most joyful, celebratory looks of the entire wedding. Hands down, one of the best-dressed guests of the whole night, and she absolutely earned every bit of attention this look received across every single fashion outlet covering the event. Hadid has remained one of the most consistently present, most trusted members of Taylor's inner circle through every single era of her career, weathering years of public attention around their friendship without it ever wavering. Choosing to show up in something this joyful and celebratory rather than a more somber or overly serious black tie color Felt like exactly the right emotional note to strike for a friend's wedding. And that glowing beauty look only added to the overall sense of relaxed, genuine happiness radiating off of this entire moment. It's genuinely hard to find a single red carpet appearance from Hadid over the past decade that hasn't been met with widespread praise, and this wedding was no exception to that pattern. Given just how long she and Taylor have known each other, arriving in a color this joyful, this celebratory, felt less like a calculated fashion statement and more like a genuine, visible expression of happiness for her friend. It's also worth noting that of everyone on this list, Hadid's friendship with Taylor is among the most publicly documented and longest running, stretching back well over a decade through countless red carpets, vacations, and public appearances together. That kind of history adds real substance behind a look that could otherwise just be filed away as another beautiful pink gown, turning it instead into a visual marker of one of the most enduring friendships in the entire industry. Number 1. Zoe Kravitz. And finally, guys, we have arrived at number 1, and this pick genuinely surprised me in the best way possible. Zoe Kravitz, Taylor's longtime friend and collaborator on Lavender Haze, stepped out bejeweled in a mini dress and strappy heels for the soiree, arriving solo since her fiancé Harry Styles was performing a show of his own in London that same night. Okay guys, hear me out on this one, because I know a mini dress might seem like an unconventional choice for the number 1 spot at a black tie wedding, but that is exactly why it earns the top position on my list today. Everyone else at this wedding was leaning heavily into full-length gowns, dramatic trains, and maximalist embellishment. Kravitz walked in wearing something completely different. A bejeweled mini that leaned more evening party than traditional wedding guest attire. And somehow, it read as more sophisticated than half the ball gowns in the room. The long history behind her friendship with Taylor, going back years through their musical collaboration and personal ties, gave this look an extra layer of meaning, beyond just the fabric and the fit. It's proof that a mini dress can absolutely hold its own at the most formal event of the year, as long as the styling stays polished and intentional, and Kravitz nailed that balance completely. This was effortless, confident, quietly show-stopping glamour. Out of a guest list stacked with some of the most incredible couture, custom, and archival pieces you could imagine, Kravitz found a way to stand out by doing the exact opposite of what everyone expected. That, to me, is the true definition of best dressed, and that's exactly why she takes the crown at Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding. I also just have to point out how well this look reflects Kravitz's entire relationship with fashion. She has always gravitated toward pieces with real character behind them, rather than chasing whatever's newest off a current runway. Her collaborations with Taylor over the years, especially on a song as moody and atmospheric as Lavender Haze, track perfectly with that same slightly unconventional, effortlessly cool sensibility. Choosing a bejeweled mini over a full ball gown at the single most photographed wedding of the decade takes real nerve. And the fact that it still managed to read as one of the most sophisticated, most talked about looks of the entire night says everything about how well she pulled it off. There's also something worth mentioning about the fact that Kravitz attended solo that night, with her fiancé Harry Styles performing his own show across the Atlantic in London that same evening. Kravitz handled the night with total ease, showing up dressed exactly the way she wanted, focused entirely on celebrating her friend. That kind of unbothered confidence, both in the outfit and in the situation itself, is exactly why this pick earns the number 1 spot on today's list, out of 18 incredible, fully documented looks from one of the most photographed weddings in recent memory. And there you have it, guys. My top 18 best-dressed guests from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding. From Richard Sherman's classic black tux all the way up to Zoe Kravitz's completely unexpected bejeweled mini dress at number 1. This wedding proved once and for all that when you invite over 1,000 of the most famous, most stylish people on the planet to one single event, you are guaranteed an absolutely unforgettable red carpet. And honestly, we didn't even get to see the bride's dress yet. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much. That genuinely means the world to me. Now, out of all 18 of these looks, who do you think was the actual best-dressed guest of the entire night? And did I get my top spot right? Or do you think someone else deserved that crown instead? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love seeing which looks you guys are obsessed with. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is absolutely the time. Because the moment official photos of Taylor's actual wedding dress drop, we will be right back here breaking down every single detail. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.